Welcome, everyone. We are Clean Slate Show Runners. This is a podcast where the slate is clean, and I am keen to have conversation with some of the most amazing people. Welcome to the Clean Slate Show.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Take one.
Maybe set on him. And then, to me, you have to go a little bit, keep your hands to yourself. So, all right, we can start, right? Good.
Yes,
Do you know what the podcast is about?
kind of.
I am still trying to figure it out.
Okay. My parents didn't talk to me for 3 weeks because they were like, you can't go. I was like, what?
Can you do push-ups now?
Yes.
How many?
Of like me starting out in the Navy where I couldn't even pump out one. And by the end of my, because we had to take a final assessment to be able to graduate, I did 57 push-ups.
In a go?
Yeah, in a
Oh
go.
my god.
Yeah. In the Navy, we had 15 minutes. They would come wake you up and then they would give you 15 minutes on the dot.
No matter how much I'm 37 now, and my mom still never accepts
Yeah.
that we used to get beating
Yeah.
if we would misbehave.
Oh yeah.
And nowadays, we talk about kids, think about their mental health and all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where was our mental
Yeah,
health?
what about us?
But first, I want to start by talking to you about your childhood.
Hmm.
So were you always in English medium from the beginning?
Yes, always.
And how was your childhood in India? Like how was the dynamics with your dad?
Honestly, I wouldn't say very close to my dad because the moment I used to wake up in the morning, he would be still sleeping. And by the time I'm going, I'm already in school, I come back, I'm going to tuitions and stuff. By the time he comes back, I'm already in bed. So I never really talked to him except for Sundays. So we just had the Sundays interactions. But I mean, to this day, I'm still very close to my dad.
Were they strict on you?
Super. Oh my God. Yes.
You and Vansh both?
Yes. To this day.
Or to this day?
Yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting. And so he was into media, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he has a lot of good understanding about media. And was it news report?
Yeah.
News
So
reporting?
we have our own newspaper.
Okay.
And then he goes out, talks to people, gets gets the news, or his job is basically to interact with people.
Right.
So and then he's the talker. So he goes to people, he talks to them and everything, and then he gets the stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he was out there.
He was out there.
So then and he from very childhood, what was how were you in studies and everything? Were you always studious? Were you a mix of
Yeah.
everything?
So until 6th grade, I was I would say pretty average, a B student, 82, 83% in India. And then 7th grade, we moved to another town, and I switched schools and everything. And I don't know what happened. 7th grade, first semester, from 82, I went up to a 97.
Whoa.
That's when my parents were like, okay, so she is smart. It was just something missing. So then ever since then, I guess I have the pressure that I have to live up to that 97 expectation.
We have complete opposite. Until 5th grade, I was killing it,
Oh,
and I don't know what happened. I got into a very good school,
right.
but then I was good. I wasn't that good, but I always had my mind not only on studies but trying to develop as a whole.
Yeah.
And at that point of time, I didn't understand. My parents didn't understand, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Whose parent would want their kids to not do well in school?
School, yeah.
I did enough. I was okay, but then I always paid more attention to also doing other things into sports, and I would participate in extracurricular activities,
Yeah.
participate in clubs and all.
Mm-hmm.
I had the same thing when I came here, and now it's helping me to see other sides
Yeah.
as education.
That's true. That's
Do-
something I didn't do. Extracurricular, I did not do that.
You are very much into studies.
Very much into studies.
All right, and that's
Yeah.
so interesting, right? Then the
Yeah.
profession that you are now into,
Yeah.
or you're going to go into,
Yeah.
it's not something that would only be
Just studies.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in when you were in India, right? What was the aspiration to? Were you ever always told that since your dad was into media,
Yeah.
that you should do something in that field, or
No. I was always told I was always told that I can do whatever I wanted to. So just aim, like you can be whatever you want to. So in the beginning when I was in India, I wanted to be an accountant.
Okay.
My like computers, cybersecurity was nothing, even Navy, like I wouldn't have even thought like,
Yeah.
that I could go there, or like even computers, like, cause I was not interested in them only because I was not made aware of it so much in that moment. Accountant only because I loved math.
Right.
And 13 year old me was just like, oh, okay, like, I like math. Accounting is just calculating math. So I can do that. I think I'll be pretty good at that. But yeah, so when I was in India, until I moved here, accounting was something that I wanted to do.
At 12 or 13 years of age, you had the clarity that you wanted to go into do something with accounting.
Yes. Well, when I was 7, I wanted to be an astronaut. But that's just a 7-year-old me.
7th grade or 7 years?
7 years old.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I heard about Kalpana Chawla dying.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I don't want to
You went on
die.
the back foot.
Yeah, I was like, I don't
Yeah.
want to die. Like, but I was like, what is something that I can do where I can fly and I don't have to die? And I was like, and then I saw an airplane. So I was like, pilot. That's what I want to be, a pilot. And I told my dad literally that day when he came back from like work, I was like, hey, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. And I had glasses ever since I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad was like, I don't think you can be a pilot because you have glasses. So that day, the same day, I dropped my plans of becoming a pilot. And I was like, okay, I got to focus on something else now.
There's a limitation. If you have glasses, you cannot be a pilot?
It's a myth. But back in that time, when I was 7 years old, so 2007, 8, we didn't have that much knowledge, right?
Yeah, okay.
So
I
we
see.
would just go off of what people were telling us that,
Okay.
oh, you cannot be a pilot because you have glasses.
I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But no, it's just a myth.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cool. See, this is probably you have so much clarity. But about when I was 18, I wanted to do computer science.
Yeah.
When I came here to study for my studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was 18, and then when my dad wanted me to get into business,
Mm-hmm.
learn business, we had my family had business. My dad used to have business, but he wanted me to learn business,
Yeah.
and my mind was never set onto doing any kind of business. I
Right.
was always intrigued by computers, and I was good at it. But then because my dad told me, and I was like, what, kept playing in back of my mind.
Yeah.
I went for economics,
Okay.
and then I studied economics. It statistics and everything was well and good,
Mm-hmm.
but I never knew where to use that knowledge. And then right now I'm in the field where I can use it,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't necessarily have to take that route.
Right.
I could have still taken computer science and
Still be able to do what you're doing.
yeah,
Kind of, yeah.
and I would have been actually I would have been able to do a better job than what I'm doing right now. But
yeah.
it is what it is, right? They have a perception about how you want, but so that's what differentiates you, that you had the liberty
Yeah,
to
definitely.
pursue what you wanted.
Wanted to. Yeah.
And it's exceptional that at 7 years you could contemplate that
Yeah.
you wanted to become an astronaut, and then you kind of were able to say, okay, if
I
not
don't want to
that,
die. Yeah.
then immediately next thing would have been a dash job, but you said no, I want to fly.
Yeah.
And then what happened with the flying? Because of the glasses, you said you don't want to
I
do
just
it.
dropped it the same day.
So that makes so much sense now with where you are at right now.
Yeah.
Because of that clarity.
Yeah.
So if you shoot for higher, you might end up somewhere.
Somewhere,
here.
yeah.
But if you start from here,
Yeah. You're not getting there.
or you don't have a scope,
Yeah.
you can, just whatever, just give me, I'll take life as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So then let's straight up first talk about this, because it's like elephant in the room, right? Like your Navy news that came out,
Yeah.
and then you went through a 10 weeks of boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
What made you even think about Navy?
So Navy was never my plan. When I was going to college in Mississippi State, there was an aviation club, and I was just introduced to that club, so I just joined it just because the pilot thing was still in my head.
Right.
Like, somewhere the 7-year-old me was like, I still want to be a pilot. So I joined the club, and one of the guys, I think he was like the program coordinator or something. He was like asking everybody on why they're part of the club, because that was the first meeting of the club. And I was just like, oh yeah. He was like, are you into like, aerospace, what's your major? And I was like, oh, computer science. And he was like, well, what are you doing here? Do you want to be a pilot? I was like, I wanted to, but I can't. And he was like, why not? And I'm like, because I have glasses. He was like, who said that? I was like, wait, what? So that's when like I was like, okay, now I want to be a pilot again. Obviously, like, and I went home, told my dad. My dad's like, no, computer science. That's what you're doing. So that was the liberty that was taken away from me. And so he told me, he was like, I cannot be a pilot whatsoever. I have to finish computer science. And then I think the first two months I took it well. I was like, that's fine. It's whatever.
You went to school, like
yeah.
good person, good kid.
Right. And then just deep down, I was just like, no, I want to be a pilot. So I joined the Air Force without letting my parents know. I like signed up for it, started talking to a recruiter. And because I was not a citizen at the time, I had a green card. So she was like, oh, I need your information. Like,
Right.
like all of your stuff. And I was like, well, my parents don't know. And my dad has all the documents.
Right.
And I knew that obviously an Indian girl voluntarily going to like American or US Air Force,
Right.
they're not going to say like yes, ever.
Even thinking about that is like wild.
Wild. You're
For
right.
them.
For them, definitely. And even for me, because,
Yeah.
it's so much that comes with it. So I started doing my research because I was determined that I want to go. Like, no matter what happens, I just want to go.
Right.
So I started doing my research for the Air Force. I started writing down the journey from like day one as in starting to talk to the recruiter, like going into her office, stepping into the office, to the day I become a pilot. Everything that goes with it. Started doing my research, and then COVID hit. So that's when, and I got diagnosed with COVID. So for a month, because that was so new, for a month I was in quarantine.
Okay.
And then that's when I decided to tell my parents. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna sit them down tonight. So I called my recruiter that morning. I was like, hey, I'm gonna talk to my parents today, because I told her that I haven't told my parents. So I called her up and I was like, hey, I'm gonna talk to my parents. So give me 3 weeks. I'll get back to you in 3 weeks, because I thought that that's the time it would take for me to
Yeah.
convince them to let me go.
Right.
And I created a whole PowerPoint presentation to convince my parents. Because with my dad, if he sees that I'm serious about it, he'll consider it.
Right.
So I made a PowerPoint. I sat my parents down. My brother already knew about it. I had told him since day one what I was doing. So he was all like, he was all with me on board. He was like, I'm so happy for you. Go do it. Because he wanted to be in the army because he was a
He's
kid.
great with drones and everything. Which I
Yeah.
just,
Uh-huh.
I got to know about that. And
Yeah.
showing me all this crazy stuff. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
were you like years when I saw you?
Yeah, I
I did not
know.
imagine you trying to
all
go
this.
into all this.
Right.
He's sharp kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was all in it for like, like happy for me. Sat my parents down and I showed them the presentation. I told them everything. I was like, this is what happens. This is what happens. Like, here, like I go from here to here to here to here. And they immediately say yes. Like the same night. My dad did, at least.
Right.
My mom was still like iffy about it. But I knew that since my dad said yes, she's going to come around.
I think it's because of your clarity that you would have shown
Right.
that you did your
Literally.
research.
Yeah, that's what my dad told me.
Right.
My dad was like, the only reason I said yes was because I saw the sincereness in you, that it looked like this is something you wanted to do, so you put your everything into it to wanna go. So they said yes and everything. I did the whole process, which is basically I have to take a test. It's basically like ACT, SAT for going into college.
Okay.
It's your test to determine your job in the service.
Okay.
So depending on the score that you get, there's so many jobs open for you. So if you get over a 90, then that's basically every single job is open for you.
Then you apply, or they still tell you where to go.
No, I can apply.
You can apply to any of the roles.
Yes. So
Whatever.
if it's, let's say if I scored below 80, then I can only pick jobs that are like that get that mark,
Okay,
the
yeah.
requirement like below 80.
Right.
So I scored over a 90. So basically all the jobs were open for me. And I wanted to do something related to like cyber stuff, like cyber security, cyber technician,
Mhm.
or linguist. Because my recruiter told me since I knew like 3 different languages, she was like, maybe you'll be better at that. So I even took a test for that, which is called a D-Lab. And I scored perfect in that too.
Okay.
Which D-Lab is basically it's like code. Like it's like code languages, not like computer code. But
It's a form of a programming language. Is it
No,
more
no,
of
no,
a do
not
with
even,
the
not like nothing related to computer. It's just, you know how like people write in like the Morse codes,
Morse codes?
right?
Okay.
It's something like that.
Okay.
You're given a pattern, and then you have to like guess based off of the
So pattern
previous
recognition, and then you figure
yeah,
out decipher the
the stuff.
piece of.
Yeah, piece of yeah,
Okay.
basically information from that pattern. So she was like, I'm pretty sure you'll be very good at that. So that was a couple of things that I was like aiming for, because I didn't want to do anything else. Because, you know, and then obviously pilot, but I couldn't be a pilot until I had my degree. I needed a 4-year degree to be a pilot. So I
What degree is this?
a college degree.
Any
Any
bachelor's?
Yeah, it
Okay.
doesn't matter. It's just in any service, like be it Air Force, Navy, Marines, anything, you have to have a 4-year degree to be an officer, and only an officer can be a pilot.
Okay.
But Navy had an exception, which is a whole story when we get there.
Yeah. No, we'll get there.
Yeah,
I just wanted to see like where this bug
came
of getting
from.
into Navy,
Yeah,
because it's so unique, right?
Right.
You never hear. You're probably the first one who I know,
yeah,
and I'm so fortunate that I'm on your side.
yeah.
That in the family, that I get to hear all this, and then
Right.
can you imagine how many people you're going to inspire
Yeah,
just by the story?
stories.
The moment I heard about this, I have a niece. She's very young. She's 10, 11 years old, right?
Mhm.
I kind of give her your example, because I was like, you got to don't think about what you're seeing. You got to open
Right.
your eyes.
Uh-huh.
There is so much, and
More to it.
we have come so much far from, like, so for our parents. I think I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
They want you to be secured first,
Mm-hmm.
secured from financial standpoint.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, if you have a degree, at least you will know your way around.
Yeah.
So now it makes sense to me that
Yeah.
okay, but I also feel like, okay, if I would have gotten a little bit of a push at that time,
Yeah.
maybe I could have
Done it.
You
Done
know,
whatever you
I could have
wanted.
seen like so much.
So much.
uh,
Definitely.
When I was restricted to just seeing business,
Mm-hmm.
I could have. Because I was interested in computers, then cybersecurity and everything starts from there,
Yeah.
from computer science. So if you get
Computer
on computer science, you learn a few languages,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything kind of is similar.
Yeah.
So that was your journey, because you got computer science, you kind of learned it
Yeah. A little bit.
a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So did you change your major, or did you still keep pursuing?
No, now I've changed to cybersecurity, completely just cybersecurity.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So
just-
left computer science behind,
Okay.
and then just started a new curriculum.
So narrowing it down, as per what's going to help
Basically.
you to take the next step.
yeah, basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Has it physically? Have you done anything physically, like in terms of like physical exercise, preparing yourself for?
Definitely.
Are you still doing it? Do you have to like lifelong do it now?
I kind of, well, when I first got approved, I got my dates to go out. Basically, it's called your shipping out date, is when you leave to go to bootcamp, the bootcamp is in Great Lakes, Chicago.
Okay.
So they fly you out there, and then you start your journey. So from the day I got my ship out date to the day that I was actually shipping out, I had 9 weeks to prepare myself. And I had to be, obviously I had to be, there was a weight requirement according to my age and my height. I had to be specific, like, this to this weight. Like physical fitness test, you have to do this many amount of push-ups, this many amount of sit-ups, and this much time of planks, and then this much running. Like, you have requirement, you
Okay.
have every single set base requirements according to your age. So I was, with the weight, I was pretty much good. But physical fitness, I had nothing. I couldn't pump out a single push-up. I barely got to a sit-up. I could not do more than like 5 or 10 seconds of plank when I first started.
Right.
And I could not run for my life.
Can you do push-ups now?
Yes.
How many?
Well, right now I'm starting back again because I did lose it in the middle with school and everything going on. But from my day one of like me starting out in the Navy, where I couldn't even pump out one, I did the knee
The
push-ups.
knee push-ups. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's how I started.
Right.
And by the end of my, like, because we have to take a final assessment to like be able to graduate, I did 57 push-ups.
In a go?
Yeah, in a
Oh
go.
my God.
Yeah.
I do wall push-ups.
Yeah.
I can do 10 of those
Yeah.
in my first set.
yeah.
In my third, I'm going to struggle.
Yeah.
No, so I pitched this concept of project deflation. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I've never
You
heard
wouldn't have. You would hear it once this podcast goes live.
Yeah.
But project, I just named it Project Deflation.
Okay.
So I'm going to deflate from in and out.
Okay.
I'm trying to get lean now. So I developed a tennis elbow because I started lifting, and then I thought that my body could handle more weight. So I just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first few weeks I didn't realize. But after that, my elbow started hurting when I started lifting heavier and heavier. And I was pushing. I was getting into that zone where I was, being able to push more weight than I could.
Mm-hmm.
And then I quickly realized that the tennis elbow is bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I have cut down weights at least completely.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to walk my 10,000 steps as much as I can.
Right.
I have slacked off a little bit. So I started strong. I've dropped about 22 pounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
But my goal is huge.
Yeah.
Project Deflation ends when I reach my goal of like where I want to go. It's hundreds,
Yeah.
over 100 pounds. I'm trying to drop. And so that's why I started doing push-up.
Mm-hmm.
And I started from wall.
Yeah.
I went to knee.
Yeah.
And then started doing like proper 2 or 3 push-ups.
Yeah.
And then
It's hard. Oh no.
elbow crap started bothering me. I still kept going.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did some more research.
Yeah.
I didn't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I did thorough research to explain Shivani because she thought I was faking it.
Yeah.
Because her first instincts are, and it's not her to blame.
Yeah.
I have gone outside the gym and I've sat there in the car.
Oh no.
Because I didn't want to go inside.
Yeah.
And I make stupid excuses.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I forgot my shots for the gym.
I forgot my bottle of water.
Bottle of water.
I can't work out without water.
So she kind of we've been together for so many years. She calls out the fake. So I have to keep evolving.
Yeah. You have to
Why
keep improvising.
Why do you think I'm doing the podcast?
Yeah.
It's either this or doing the laundry and washing dishes. I was like, no. I'm happy.
I gotta.
If I do this, do I have to do that? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, then I'm going to do this. So then let's talk about your let's come to the Navy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then out of choices you went for Navy?
Yeah.
Or else you would, and then you're still focusing on trying to fly?
Yes.
I'm assuming even within Navy there is like...
Yeah. So surprising thing, I'm not sure many people know, but US Navy has more planes than US Air Force. You wouldn't even know that. Nobody would know that.
Only those Navy pilots can fly those planes?
Yes.
In the Navy?
Mm-hmm.
That's different from Air Force?
Yes.
So Air Force they only fly from land?
Yes.
And Navy only flies from
carriers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has threat or like, are you never scared about?
No.
It has never crossed your mind?
No.
You're getting into like combat, you're getting into like this flight mode.
Yeah.
But commercial pilots, I was hoping you were going to say commercial, but then when you say Navy, that is exceptional. Like,
yeah. And that's
it never crossed your mind.
No.
You were never scared that.
Never. No.
Is it the mindset that you guys like? I'm going to say now. I'm going to start calling you guys because
you
are now into Navy and you're talking like one. So it never crosses your mind.
It never does, and it's because. So I was so scared because I had never been away from home ever for like this long, and this is my first time. Like like my parents, like it's like their baby girl is leaving. Because I have no phones. You have no phones there. The day you get there, they put your phones and they put everything that belongs to you in a box. And then they like literally just put it in a room. So my parents, the only thing that they know or the only thing anybody knows before shipping out is we're going to Great Lakes, Chicago. Where we're going after that, what are they doing with us for like those 10 weeks? Obviously, I looked up YouTube videos, everything, like, what goes on in like Bootcamp, week 1, week 2, everything. Because there's a breakdown for every single week that you were there. You don't get a minute to yourself to breathe because they have everything planned for you that entire time. So I had seen videos, but for me to explain that to my parents, like, because the only thing that they knew is our daughter's going to train, like, in the Navy and she's going to Chicago. That's all they knew. Not where, like, not.
Had they seen any of those videos? Because they are rigorous.
No.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
They are like, if it's true, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're all true. That's literally how it goes.
Has any of, sorry, I'm sidetracking a list a little bit, but has any of the movies come closest to this kind of do movies show reality? Like how there's a captain who starts yelling and then like
Gunjan Saxena?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Cargill, the helicopter pilot, right?
Yes. That was a pretty close story. Obviously the officers and them weren't like screaming at her, but I remember I had told myself before I went into the boot camp, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. No matter what happens, I am not gonna cry. And there was only one time that I cried. Well, obviously when I called my parents, I obviously
Of
every
course,
time
you
I
are.
cried.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, you are. You've never been away from them.
Oh yeah, never been away from them. But there was only one other time. So I was joining the Navy, which everybody knows is water. Literally just water. And I didn't know how to swim. And I joined the Navy.
I'm sure they knew, right, that you couldn't
Yes.
swim.
No.
Not parents. I'm talking about.
The people.
So you told them on the form that they still allowed you to.
Yeah. They were
Because you
like,
went to the seas, right?
yeah. So they were like, oh, they're gonna teach you in boot camp on how to swim. I was like, okay, that's fine. Perfect. So when you first go to Chicago, like I said, you literally take off the clothes that you're wearing. They give you new sets of clothes, socks, everything. You are not taking anything with you from like civilian world is what I'll say. You put everything like, except for like prescription medicines and stuff, like you put everything in a little box and then they leave that box. Before, like a long time ago, they used to ship that box back home. But I guess they stopped doing that. They just left the box in like a little room, and then once you graduate, right before you're about to leave to head out to like wherever you're going to go, they give you that box back. So that's when you get your phone back for the first time. Like, that's when you get all your stuff that you left in that little box 10 weeks ago. You get that back. So because I went during COVID time, the boot camp originally is only 8 weeks long. But because I went during like COVID, we had 2 weeks of quarantine. So for those 2 weeks of quarantine, they took us to Wisconsin, and we were staying at this old army base in Wisconsin, and then we were just staying there for like 2 weeks, making sure that nobody had COVID, nobody was getting sick, and then once everything was good, everybody was good. We were sent back to Chicago to start our training. What was your question?
No, about the training, the how the movies they show.
Oh yes.
Is it actually like how?
Yeah. So in quarantine, the officers that were with us, like that were staying with us, even in quarantine, it was not like, oh, because you're quarantining, you're like
That you get to relax and
no,
do
you
your
wake
thing.
up every morning at 5 a.m. You go out to walk, which was the hardest thing because I shipped out on March 30. So like March, April, which is like cold,
yeah.
cold weather, Chicago, Wisconsin, so cold, like it's snowing.
Right.
And you're wearing like the heavy boots that the soldiers wear. Obviously you haven't broken into them, so your feet are hurting. It's so cold, and you have to march. Never marched in my life, but you have to march to everything. If you gotta go to the bathroom, you gotta march to the bathroom. You gotta go just walk from like one part of the room to the other part of the room. You gotta march. So I guess they were just getting us into that
In
habit.
a disciplined mode,
Right?
or maybe
Into that mode, like basically just saying that
zoning
okay,
in.
you're switching from a civilian to like military.
into
So
like not. Yeah.
yeah. So obviously all that stuff, and like the first day I remember it was like 5 a.m. They had woken us up, and the waking us up is the hardest, especially when you go to boot camp. It's so crazy. But quarantine, it's a little simpler. They wake you up, and then you have to like walk to go eat breakfast. And I remember this one time they made us take a longer route, only because like we were misbehaving the last day, the day before.
The day before.
Yeah, so like that's a punishment. Like you gotta walk longer, and it's colder, it's snowing. You still gotta walk longer. And I remember my legs just giving up, and I just couldn't march. And I remember my trainer, like one of my officers, they were called RDCs, Recruit Division Commander.
Okay.
So I remember one of my RDCs was walking right next to me. And obviously, if I don't march, I'm going to get yelled at.
Right.
So I had to keep marching. My legs had given up, and I had to keep going. You can't cry. You can't do nothing. You just had to keep going. So I was just like, you know what? The pain is just going to end in a little bit.
Or maybe they get numb enough that you just
that you just don't feel anything.
fall and then you start crawling your way to the place.
So I had talked to that RDC that, hey, I don't know how to swim. Like, what's going to happen? And she was like, oh, don't worry. Because the swim test, it's like in 3 different parts. First part is you're jumping from a 9-foot diving.
You dive
board.
from.
Yeah, you dive from a 9-foot like pool, whatever, like with the board, into a 12-feet pool. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to swim 100 meters. Doesn't matter how.
Okay.
It just has to be a pattern. You cannot switch patterns.
Oh, so if you're doing butterfly, just keep doing butterfly. If you're
Yeah.
doing
If you're in front,
freestyle, just
yeah,
keep doing
just
freestyle.
yeah. If
Okay.
you're doing like backstroke,
Just keep doing backstroke.
backstrokes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the third was you had to stay in the water for 5 minutes.
Yeah, just keep
Just in
paddling or float or anything.
No.
By any means.
In the water.
Oh, inside the water.
Yeah. For
Oh,
5 minutes.
oh, so you learn how to breathe and everything.
In the water. And you can
5 minutes?
Yeah. If you come up, you fail. You
It's
come up for
insane.
1 second, you fail. So, like, I was already starting to get
This is
scared.
next level, man.
Yeah. So I
It's
told
intense stuff.
Right. So I told her, I was like, hey, I don't know how to swim. And she was like, oh, don't worry. Like, they're going to put you in a kiddie pool, which is like a 3-foot pool right next to the big pool. They just teach you there. I was like, oh, perfect. Like, that's.
So if you don't know swimming, does that 5 minute become, so for normal people also, it's like for normal
Everybody. 5
recruits,
minutes.
it's also the 5 minutes?
Everybody.
So irregardless, you know swimming.
You don't
But
know.
you are just not even swimming. You're actually going inside. You are
Yeah.
actually sinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to sink because if you don't do
Yeah.
anything, you will sink.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, perfect. Like, I'm like, that's great. So, so our first week back into Chicago is, they call it the P days, which is the processing days. So that entire 5 days, like Monday to Friday, we're taking shots, like, like the shots that we need for like our health and stuff.
Right.
We're like doing like our paperwork. We're getting our like military ID, all that stuff. Like, first week is easier.
Okay.
First week, day 1 is like the P days. Day 1 is when we meet our RDCs, the commanders that are gonna
They're going to be with you for 10 weeks?
10 weeks.
Okay.
Yes, 8 weeks, because we already finished 2 weeks of
The
quarantine.
quarantine, yeah.
Yes, so the RDCs that are gonna stay with us for next 8 weeks. Obviously, they go home at the end of the night. They go home, but they come right back. Basically, they're the ones that are like our teachers, our parents, our guiders, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
For the next 8 weeks. And I was like prepared. I was like, it's okay. Like, they're going to be okay. Like, it's not that deep.
Were you at any point like counting days?
Oh yeah.
When will this be over? When will this
Yeah.
be over? And I know it's just 8
Yeah,
weeks
no.
to go, but
Yeah, I had they give us, obviously, because you have academics too in the Navy. Like, you have to study. You go to classes and you take classes. So like, you're studying, you're giving tests, everything. So they had given us a little notebook, and at the back of the notebook, I had made a little calendar from like March 30th to like my graduation date. And I had literally every single date written out, and I was like counting down, like, okay, I got like
because that could motivate you too, right?
Yes,
That okay,
definitely.
I'm so close. Do I
Uh-huh.
want to really give up now? After
Yeah.
I've never been yelled at, and I've been
Oh my
yelled at from
yes.
so many people. Do I want to just
Yeah, and then I remember even so our RDCs, whenever we were in Wisconsin, it was just not us. It was a lot of like divisions that were staying with us. Division is basically the group of people that you're living with, or like in the compartment. So the room that we live in it's called a compartment, and we had bunk beds. And then you were like placed in the bunk beds according to your height. So the shortest person is in the first bunk on the bottom. And then the person taller than her is on the second bunk, and then it just goes on. So it's from the smallest to like the tallest. So I remember
I'm trying to remember a movie that I've seen that in. So when they're standing in
height
the line,
difference, yeah.
when the first thing you do is wake up in my bed and come in make a line.
Make a line, yeah.
It's like height wise.
Yes.
Okay, I'll think of it. I'll tell you
Yeah,
what movie was that.
But
That's
yeah,
accurate.
even when we're like marching, that's exactly how we're marching. We're marching like with our height, like just lying.
So yeah, so that everybody can be visible.
Right, basically, yeah. So whenever we were in Wisconsin, and we used to go eat breakfast, so it was like all of the divisions together. But obviously, we weren't given the RDCs that were supposed to be training us for the next 8 weeks. We were just randomly assigned RDCs. Every single like building were assigned random RDCs. And this one time we were eating the breakfast, and I just hear a male RDC yelling on top of his lungs. He was like, I know I'm going to get one of your girl divisions, and I'm going to make sure none of you smile. Like, you can't even smile on the table, on the breakfast, lunch, dinner table. So
When you're eating.
yeah, you can literally just look into your plate. You cannot even look up to like the person sitting across from you or next to you. You cannot talk, cannot mumble. You cannot say anything. You just have to eat your food, and once they tell you to get up, you get up, get your plate, and get up and leave. like nothing else. So I guess one of the girls was just smiling, and
There is no humor in Navy.
nothing whatsoever, nothing. But it was,
Why?
so that's only for
They-
like the first 4 weeks, and then like after week 5, week 6, your RDCs start to like loosen up to you, and then they're like, you like literally the best people that you'll meet. Like right now, if you tell me to go back, I would easily go back. But I want the
just
same.
push through those 4 weeks.
Yeah, push to the first 4.5, 5 weeks, and then you're good. And then you don't want to, like, you don't want to come, you don't want to be the bad person in front of your RDCs, because then you're gonna be called out every time something happens.
Right.
And I just remember this male, someone, like, because you can't even look up whenever you hear someone.
Yeah, just keep your head down.
Yeah, you're just listening to the yelling, and I'm like literally like almost tearing up. I'm like, oh my God, this is how it's gonna be. Like, he's like, I'm gonna make sure none of you smile or even laugh when you come there, like when you come back to Chicago and stuff like that. Turns out, when we're heading to Chicago, I find out he's gonna be my RDC. I was like, oh crap, this is not gonna be good. This is not gonna be fun. And then I remember, like, P days, day one, us being introduced to our RDCs, and I have never shaken so much in my life. Like, we're just sitting on the floor, and they come in and they start yelling at you for no reason. They're like, hurry up, what are you doing? Why are you, like, why are you not hurrying up? And they're like cursing at you. Everything goes on. And I remember just like closing my bag, and I couldn't close it because I was shaking so much, because I was so scared. But that was the only time in the entire boot camp that I was scared. And like, I was like, oh, dang it. Like, what did I, like, why am I here? What did I bring myself into? That was like that was the 2 minutes that I was contemplating every single decision and every single fight that I fought my parents. I was like, dang, did I fight them to come here? Like,
For all of this for what?
Yeah, for what? And then it was fine after that. P days got over, like, you're getting all your shots. Like I said, you get your like military ID, you get your uniforms, all that stuff. Basically like uniforms, because we had like, your last name written on your uniform, so you get all that stitched. You go out for your measurements, all that stuff. Like, everything that's not hard goes on, like, happens during P days. Week 1, day 1, we go for swim test. And I was like, it's okay. The other RDC told me that I can go tell the guy, whoever's there, that I don't know how to swim. So I'm like waiting and waiting and waiting. And like I said, I still have my glasses. So I'm still almost blind. And they tell us to take our glasses off when we're going down in the water. So that way, like, nothing, you don't get hurt whatsoever.
Right. Because when you're diving from that high,
anything,
you definitely don't want glasses.
Exactly.
Or you want swimming goggles that if you want anything.
Yeah, no, you don't even get that option.
Yeah, that's better actually.
Yeah.
Instead of wearing this and jumping, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like waiting but everybody's strict. Everybody's just cursing at you. Everybody's just yelling at you. So I don't know who to go talk to. And then I just saw this one, like, one guy, one trainer that was there, and I'm the last person. I kid you not. So they make you go in, like, 2 people. It's 2 people at the same time that goes
jump
dives.
Together.
Yeah. And I was like waiting for my chance. My rack mate. So
why are those people always the last?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I guess with
maybe
me,
they hold off the line.
No. With me, I was just gaining courage.
I would not jump.
Well, they pushed me.
If I don't know swimming, and if I'm jumping in a 12-foot deep pool from a 9-foot height.
Yeah, I blanked out. You have no idea. So I told the guy, right? I was like, hey, I don't know how to swim, and he just started cursing at me. He was like, do you not understand what you're doing right now? You're in the Navy. Did you not understand what Navy was? Like, just going ham on me. He was like, do you not understand that this is all about swimming? Like, what did you think Navy was? And I was like, oh my God, what? Like, I was told something else. And then he was like, I don't care, just go jump. And I'm like, okay. So I just, like, I gained the courage to get up the stairs. And I'm the last person. Literally, everybody's looking at me because I'm the last one. And then he was like, all right, he tells us 3, 2, 1, and then jump. And we have to, like, whenever he says, like, 3, 2, 1, we have to put just 1 foot out, preparing ourselves to jump. And I just put that foot out, but I couldn't jump. And then he just pushed me, like, gave me a little push. And I go in the water, and I'm like, I'm drowning. This is it. Like, end of my life. Like, and I'm genuinely thinking I had, like, a little bit of, like, panic attack when I was in the water. Because I couldn't see, because I didn't have my glasses. So obviously they throw out a rod to you, and there is people in the water too. There's
So in case
trainers.
something goes wrong, they
Goes
can
wrong,
come and help you.
Obviously. And then they threw the rod at me to like pull me back to like shore or like to the like land. But I couldn't see the rod.
Yeah, because it's like so blurry. Like
Blurry,
and
yeah.
you do not know what you're grabbing onto.
Yeah. And I still was able to like grab the rod, and I got back up.
You should have told them, can I finish my that 5-minute underwater thing right now?
Right, like
Since
please,
I'm already
like,
in,
yeah.
count that out.
Yeah. Can I start doing that already? So I did that. And then they sent me to the kiddie pool to like learn how to swim. So they gave you like a noodle, right? And then even the instructor there at the pool was so strict. Let's say that even at the end of by the time I'm about to graduate and I did not learn how to swim, they're gonna push me back to like weeks.
Yeah, because then you have to learn that
How
skill
to
and
swim
then
before you graduate. Yes, basically.
take it from there.
So I was like, oh my God, I don't want swimming to be the reason I get pushed back, you know? And I was just so scared. And then I talked so when I went back, she told me multiple times, like probably 10 to 15 times to just grab the noodle. And I just couldn't. I guess I was just so much in shock.
The trauma that you had
trauma.
from the first jump.
Yeah. So I was like, I just can't. And she was like, you know what? Just go get dressed and don't come back here. I was like, okay. So I just went, like, you know, I just showered, like, you know, like dried myself off, got into my uniform, and I went and sat in the class with the people that had already passed their swimming. Because, after people started passing their swimming, they were like, they would get dressed in the uniform and they would go back, and then sit back in the class. So I was sitting with the people that had already got done with this part where I'm struggling to even grab a noodle from a 3-foot pool. And then there was an officer. So whenever you're in the boot camp, you are not allowed to talk to officers. But some of the officers are very nice, especially the ones that are like training you, like, you know, like your teachers.
Who are teaching you.
Yes, teaching you like stuff. So he was our swimming like professor, you can say.
Okay.
Or like the coordinator. And he came to talk to like students. So I think once like he was done talking, at the end, I like, you know, I was like, hey, I was like, I just like, you know, did my swimming and like I couldn't pass because I don't know how to swim. And like I told him everything that happened. And he was like, look, just think of it. Just have confidence. Be comfortable in the water. That's all I'm going to tell you. Like, you know, just think of it as to like how you're in the air. Like, you know, just assume that you're on the land. Be comfortable in the water and everything should be fine.
Because that's going to be your best friend. You are in Navy.
Yes.
You're going to be in water. For longer part of the year.
Yes. So that's literally what he told me. He was like, just be comfortable in the water. Don't panic. As soon as you start panicking, that's when stuff starts to go wrong. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Cool. I kid you not, 3 days. I learned how to swim. In 3 days, I jumped off of that diving board. I did my swim, like, you know, the 100 meters. I did my 5-minute in the water. And we have this little thing called abandoned ship, which is a thing in the Navy where you are literally... They make you jump from the diving board. Again, there's waves. You know how like when you go to like water parks, you have like the wave pools.
Right.
So it's like very strong waves. It's they try to make it into like they're trying to I guess stimulate like an ocean.
Yeah, where it's like
rough seas.
Rough
basically.
seas.
Yeah. And rough seas, and then they're making a scene where you have to jump off of your ship and you're trying to go into this little floaty thing where you're gonna be rescued.
Okay.
So you have to. That's the fourth test that you have to do. So I did all of those in 3 days. Passed everything, and I was very proud of myself for doing that. And when I passed that test, and when I was heading back to my ship, my ship is what they call it, but it's just a building. But they just like to call the building your ship. They get you into that terminology. So right before I was heading out to the ship, I saw that officer again that I saw 3 days ago. And I told him that I passed it, and he was so happy. Right. He was so happy for me.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
3 days to learn swimming.
Yeah.
It's
he was
crazy.
like, wait, didn't I see you like the other day? I was like, yeah, 3 days ago. And he was like, I am so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. I was like, thank you. And then, you know, everything that led, obviously, then we had like fitness test, which luckily I passed. I barely, like, you know, passed it, like literally on the mark.
But you crossed the line. That's what it matters, right?
Yeah.
You crossed the line.
Yeah. So did the like, you know, physical test and everything. And then it's like I said, they have like everything every day planned for you. So
Right.
there's nothing that you can do, like, out of the blue.
It's everything is like so
Every
well
minute
planned.
is planned for you. Yeah,
Right.
basically. So you don't have time to yourself.
Have you bought any of that back with you, like in your normal life? Have you gotten like more disciplined
Definitely.
in
I
like
would
things?
definitely say time, because I I would like to think that I was always punctual with time, but now I like to be very early, because in the Navy or like in military, we have this saying, if you are on time, then you're late, and if you're like, early, then you're on time. So
Right.
I have tend to be like getting to places on time. I like to be just a little bit more stricter with like my regimen is what I'll say, because right in the Navy, in boot camp, we had 15 minutes. They would come wake you up, and then they would give you 15 minutes on the dot. In those 15 minutes, we cannot sleep. Whenever you're going to sleep, you have to wear the night dress that they give you. They give you like hoodie and sweatpants. So
Right.
they're called Smurfs. So you have to sleep in Smurfs, or you can wear your t-shirt and your shorts. Either way, like depends on like the weather. You cannot sleep in your uniform. So in 15 minutes, they expect you to wake up, brush your teeth, make your hair perfect, because you cannot have any like flyaways, or it has to be pinned down, pin straight bun. And even the bun has requirements, like the bun can only be so much thicker, like it has to have like specific radius, whatever. Do your hair, get ready, put your uniform on how they have told you to, have everything neat and tidy. Put your Smurfs back into your rack, like into your bed, because we had a little opening in our rack where we were able to like put our uniform.
Stuff.
Yeah, and it had to be neatly placed on how they had taught us, and even folded on how they had taught us. If it's not folded the way that they taught us to fold, then we're literally done. We would get basically it's called beating. It's not really beating, they just make you exercise until they feel like
burpees and all.
yeah, basically. And you really don't ever want to get into that, like where
Right.
your RDC are like, Patel, come out, like you're about
Yeah.
to get beating. Like you don't want that ever, like ever.
My bootcamp was so different for data science.
Yeah.
I went to Rutgers.
Yeah.
My
I
professor
wish.
would show up pretty much late because
Yeah.
he was working professional.
Right.
And then I would be surrounded by so many other senior directors and VPs.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of chilled.
Yeah.
Even went for beers after work
my God.
sometimes.
Oh my
This
God.
is so different.
Yeah.
But they called it boot camp.
Yeah.
And you know what? The funny part is it was 10 weeks.
That's crazy. That is insane.
10
yeah.
weeks of
That's
Navy
when
boot
like
camp
when I
versus
hear
10 weeks of
cybersecurity
computer
boot
science.
camps, I'm like, no, it's not a
And
boot
you
camp,
were there.
please.
You
Yeah.
would have been in computer science, something around that science field.
Right. I'm like, please
it's
don't
part of data
disrespect it by
science.
calling it a boot camp. You
Yeah,
know?
it is not.
Yeah. It's
This is. I was expecting this,
yeah.
but when I
boot camp.
when I went there and saw that, and I
Yeah.
was like,
This is not it.
I'm never leaving you guys.
Yeah. And I was like, when can I leave you guys? Yeah. But to put it in the way that they taught us to make our bed sheets, fold our bed sheets, because you had to tuck your corners in, particularly on how they taught you. It had to be to an angle on how they taught you. Put our pillows how they teach us, and fold our blankets how they teach us. And guess how much time they would give us for all this?
5 minutes,
15.
15 for everything.
Yeah.
Get up, shower, get ready.
Not shower.
But
You don't shower then. They give you time to shower later.
later. Okay.
Yeah.
So get ready and
Yeah.
because normally when I wake up, normally when a normal person wakes up, it takes about 5 minutes just to
Get
think
out of
that
the bed.
they are up or
Yeah.
not
Oh my
up.
God. No.
Sometimes snooze.
Yeah. Snooze
That's
is 9
the
minutes.
biggest thing.
Snooze is 9 minutes long.
I had my first episode with Nirali Man.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. She taught me.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing it now.
Uh-huh.
And I diligently have stopped doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not press snooze.
Oh, I
No matter
can't.
what happens, just not press
yeah.
snooze.
Just stop it. Yeah.
The first couple of days were a struggle
Uh-huh.
because me as myself who was in half sleep wanted to press a snooze, but then
Yeah.
I was fighting my new me
Yeah.
to not do it.
Not
And now
do-
I don't do it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I would just for once I'll get up,
Yeah.
I'll walk around,
Mm-hmm.
and then even if I come back and lie down, I cannot go to sleep because I already lost that deep sleep that I was in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this podcast journey has started to change me in a
That's
good way.
awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Because I'm listening to all these
More
champions,
people, yeah.
these amazing people who do
Yeah.
all these things.
Yeah.
And then there are two ways you can go about it, right?
Yeah.
Either you put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is world watching you, so there is nothing that you can not
do.
at least pick up something from
Yeah.
it. Come on, like
True.
there has to be some purpose.
Yeah.
And then the other side of me is like, okay, then I get to interact with such amazing people,
Yeah.
and I hear these stories, like what you have done, right?
Yeah.
So in આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં, they say શું ખાડ્યું.
Yeah. Huh.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All of my accomplishments right now are like right here,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And the more I'm talking to you, and more I'm learning about the clarity that you had at that age, and even now,
Yeah.
that's amazing that you don't have that fear. I
Yeah.
had the fear of height.
Yeah.
I still have the fear of height.
Mm-hmm.
And I have chosen consciously to not fight that, because there are other fears that I can tackle first.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point I
You will
might
get
be
there.
doing
Yeah.
that.
Maybe we'll get
Maybe
there.
like
Yeah.
I might get there, but I'm a civilian.
Yeah.
I am not a Navy going person. So what's your rank, by the way?
Well, I'm a veteran right now.
Veteran, okay.
Yeah, because I just got done. So I'm going to school now. I'm still debating if I want to go back. Deep down in my heart, I really, really, really want to.
Okay.
Just to become a pilot, obviously.
That's your dream.
Yeah, literally
and-
my dream. But then at the same time, it's with me doing cybersecurity and everything. If I do get an opportunity in like the private sector, and like if I get an internship and if I'm getting benefits and stuff, like better in private sector, because obviously it's with government, it is so difficult. Even like a little thing like me going to India, I have to ask for permission. I have to give them my tickets. I have to literally break down every single day on where I'm gonna be and who I'm gonna be with and what am I gonna be doing.
Right.
Which was what happened when I was stationed in Virginia. Was whenever it was my cousin's wedding and everybody was going to India, I asked for like, you have to put in leave request. So I put in my leave request. I told them that I was flying international for my leave. And they made me give them an itinerary of like the entire trip, like, from day one where I'm going to be to last day that I come back to the States, where I was going to be, just for them to reject it. So I didn't even get approved. So like, it's
you spend
heartbreaking.
so much time.
Right. And it's heartbreaking. I'm like.
And how can you determine, you're going for a wedding? How can you determine where would you be? Like,
exactly.
it's India.
Yeah.
So much traffic.
Exactly.
You say I'll be there somewhere in 15 minutes.
You're
2 hours later.
Yeah, you're still probably
I'm
not
still
there.
not there.
Yeah.
I cannot drive.
Yeah.
I'm dependent upon my family,
Exactly.
who doesn't have the same mindset about the timing that I have.
Right, because they work on IST.
You want to be punctual,
Yeah.
but
They don't.
are just they.
Yeah.
So you let them be.
Yeah. Because
And-
there's nothing I can do.
But I have one more question about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you start seeing like world in a different, like
Definitely.
has it changed you?
Definitely.
Like, in what
So
way?
much of me has changed because of the Navy. Like, to this day, obviously, I would say it's one of the best experiences of my life, because I got to experience some things that I don't think that I would have ever experienced. Like, just the strict routine. Like, I never in my life would have thought that I would be waking up at 4, like, in the morning, to do all these things that probably wouldn't even matter to, like, a regular person. Like, a civilian. Like, what difference does it make on how I fold my sheets? You know, what difference does it make on how I put my blanket on the bed?
Right.
But it makes a difference to them, because they want every person to be uniform. That's their whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they always teach us. They were like, you cannot slack. No matter what happens, you cannot slack. Because whenever you're slacking with whatever job you're doing, you're taking the entire ship down with you. Because every single person in the ship that is working on the ship, for the ship, whatever it is, you're not just working for yourself, you're working for the entire team.
Right.
So if you're not doing something how you're supposed to be, you're taking everybody down.
The
with you.
margins are so thin
They're so thin.
that when they do an inquiry, and if you are the person who was found in that,
Yeah. You are, yeah.
you let the whole thing down.
Yeah, my RDC, he was an HMC. So HM is hospital man. So he was a doctor in the Navy, and he was a chief, which is the C. So he told us his story that when he, like, he joined the Navy at like 18, 19, and his first duty station was Afghanistan. He was stationed with Talibans, literally fighting Talibans at 19. Yeah. And he told us his stories, and it is so crazy. He told us this one story where they had to every day go on a round. Well, obviously him being the HM, like the doctor, he had to go on the round with other soldiers. Like if someone got injured or something, he was there, So he told us, he was like, they had to make that round every single night, you know, because they were given a job from 1 to 3, 1 to 4, whatever the time they were in. They were like, we were just chilling every day. You had to make that round. And after a point, because you're doing something every day, you just become, I guess, ignorant about it, you know?
Yeah.
You're just doing it because you have to. You're not really focusing on
You don't
it.
stay present.
You don't stay present because it's like, oh, I already know what's going to happen, you know?
Let me finish it up. And just...
Right. So one night, something like that, they're all chilling. They're all like, you know, having fun, like, you know, just, and then Taliban's attacked. And he lost one of his best friends.
Oh, man.
In the moment, you know,
Right.
you know, that's his first duty station. This is the first best friend he made in the Navy, and he lost him. So ever since that day, he told himself, and then he told every single person moving forward who he met, that never, ever, ever be comfortable with whatever you're doing, ever.
Yeah.
Always double check, triple check your work, no matter what you're doing. Like, you know,
Right.
like you just have to be that precise with the Navy because you're literally taking everybody down with you.
Right.
Because it's just one of those jobs.
Yeah. What's the success rate of this also in the movies I've seen, people break the boot camp and then they leave halfway, or even the first or 2 days they start getting out.
So I remember I started off with, in my division, we started off with 80 females and only 52 graduated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So people do...
they don't leave, I wouldn't say, but they get backtracked.
So then they have to clear up some of their...
Yeah.
Whatever they're missing, and then they have to again rejoin it and finish it off.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Or they just get pushed back to another division.
And so when you are saying that the criteria is so top notch and high, so you must be you must be meeting and talking to these really brainy, smart people, right? When you meet with them.
Yeah, especially when you're on the ship and when you're like interacting with people in the Navy. Definitely, like there's some people that you talk to and you're like, you just listen to their stories and you're like, dang.
Perspective, right?
Yeah, it's insane on like how driven some of these people are. Like, you know, some people just love their job so much.
Right.
It's just so crazy to me.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, when they're also young.
Yeah.
And
so
still
young.
When they do all this and when they decide.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking you that when your parents did not see those videos, because then they would have understood. They would be scared too for you, right? Because it's not easy. It's not even, it's beyond something that you have never ever experienced before.
And honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you. My dad didn't even think I was gonna make it. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
We didn't tell anybody that I was leaving.
Because they don't realize that the hardest part is to take that first step.
The first step, it is.
Once you take that first step,
then everything is
and
easier.
It doesn't matter even if you like don't make it.
Yeah.
But you gain so much out of it.
Yeah.
Like even by even if you would have just done your research and you would have left it there, you would have had so much knowledge to share with somebody else.
Exactly.
Because your story is inspiring for so many young girls out there who I have always, you know, now things are changing in every industry, right? Everywhere you go. But your story opens perspective to like parents, especially like South Asian parents, who we are so much focused on just, you know, certain
computers,
things.
and engineers and doctors.
Certain things.
Yeah. Like you cannot be anything but a doctor or but an engineer.
But then you are a living example who had that clarity, right? If you go back to your younger self, would you have done anything different to maybe, let's say, prepare? Let's say you always wanted to become like, not always, but you wanted to be in the air.
Yeah.
Astronaut, air.
Yeah, pilot.
Air.
Yes.
Any form of pilot is air, right?
Yeah.
Would you have done anything differently if you would have given a chance to go back and do something differently?
Probably not. I probably would have just kept it the same, because then if I would have because, you know, 7-year-old me, I'm not going to think, oh, my dad's lying to me. And obviously my dad's not going to be lying to me, because like what difference is it going to make to him if I'm going to be a pilot or if I'm going to be an astronaut or like an accountant, you know? Right. It doesn't, obviously it does, but like, you know, he's not going to, that's not going to matter to him as long as I'm happy. So if 7-year-old me would have went back and cross-checked my dad's answer on him telling me that I cannot be a pilot, then I probably would have never experienced all these things in my life.
You luckily stumbled upon even the Navy part. You had given up your hope.
Definitely.
very luckily, there's a destiny to stumble upon something,
The Navy, yes.
and
Definitely.
then you found a route to eventually get to whatever you wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
and now you have that door open.
Yeah.
But now you're smart enough that you have seen that life, and now you are thinking about cybersecurity as maybe
Yeah.
a better option.
Yes.
That's where your skills are better equipped.
Yeah. And then even just not Navy, like, I can obviously, there's so many other government, like, sectors that I can go to. I can join like CIA.
Cybersecurity is huge,
Yeah.
and someone with your intellect and mindset can definitely, they can value a lot more from you.
Yeah.
They need you as much as you need
Oh,
them.
thank you.
So no, it's true. It's true, because whatever I've been hearing about you,
Yeah.
and it's so fascinating, right? So I knew about you, I heard
Yeah.
about you, but then I was like, you know what, there is something more there,
Yeah. More to the story.
and I was like, what can my platform that I have,
Mm-hmm.
what can I do
Yeah.
for others?
Right.
And your story is quite inspiring and out there, right?
Yeah.
Is the food as bad as it's shown in the movies on the ship?
No. Well, yeah. Well, I'm a vegetarian, so everything is bad for me because there's only limited things that I can eat, right? So
Boiled vegetables?
yeah, not even boiled. The most I used to love Wednesdays. I used to love going to lunch on Wednesdays.
Wait, ice cream?
No ice cream.
Oh, no ice cream. I thought there was ice cream on one. Never?
Mm-mm.
No sweet treats?
No sweet treats.
Okay, all right. Then you go ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe pizza or something.
No. Ice cream. The only reason I loved Wednesdays was because they had veggie burgers.
Oh.
Yeah, I used to
that's-
love Wednesdays. And one other thing, I used to love going to breakfast. So I used to always eat full breakfast because they had boiled eggs, and then they had like waffle. They had mini waffles or like mini pancakes. And then they had like maybe scrambled eggs. Like depends, boiled, scrambled. So I always, and then fruits. And then they had a protein bar. So I would always make sure that I eat proper breakfast no matter what.
Can you take as much as you want, or do you have to, they decide the portion for you?
Yeah, they decide the portion for us. And then we cannot take anything back to our compartment ever.
Like save and eat later.
Can't do that. But I still did.
What happens if you're hungry and, like, let's say, can you go back and eat something
No.
if you're hungry?
No.
So they haven't teach you
Everything.
discipline to.
Yeah. So we had breakfast was always between 5 to 7 a.m. Lunch was 11 to 1.
You get 5 to 7 a.m. just for the breakfast?
No. We would go to breakfast between that time.
Okay.
Like any time.
Everyone has to finish within that time.
Yes. So we had 12 divisions in our ship. So 12 divisions had to finish eating breakfast between 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Then lunch used to be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then dinner was 4 to 6.
Okay.
So after 6 p.m., I never had anything until next morning, either 5 or 6 a.m.
Gotcha. So vegetarians don't have as many options.
Yeah,
So food does suck,
it does.
as they show in the movies.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Even in
and-
the ship, like, not just boot camp, even in the ship, it would suck.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Your building was your ship.
No, actual ship. Like whenever
When you also went to
Station,
you also had to
yeah.
sail.
Yeah, when I was stationed on my ship was called USS Monterey. It was a cruiser, CG-61. It's decommissioned now, so it's no longer active. It went into reserves.
Okay.
So whenever, like, if
I've only seen one USS Summit or Nimitz. I don't know which one is in
Nimitz,
the.
yeah,
Nimitz is
it's
on the.
aircraft carrier.
That's on the. That's decommissioned, right? Is it? There's one decommissioned in New York City by Chelsea Pier. Which one is that?
I don't know.
It's just like for the show. They also have a
Ev-
submarine. That's why I
Yeah.
think it's decommissioned.
For people to go walk around and
Yeah.
see. Yeah,
That's the only, and it's huge.
it is.
But the one that you're talking about, I'm assuming it's going to be even wild. It's going to be
The cruiser?
those.
So,
Does it carry planes?
no. Only on deployments.
But on deployment, it carries planes.
And
And-
they have to.
Or 80, a lot of planes can carry, right?
So, there's destroyers, then there's cruisers, and then there is aircraft carriers. So, destroyers are about 250 to 350 people. Like, it can accommodate up to
350 people, okay.
Cruisers can accommodate up to 300 to 400 people.
Okay.
And then aircraft carriers can accommodate 2,000 people.
2,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then 200 planes.
Can you imagine the weight capacity that could have?
It's so crazy.
Oh my God.
And I've met so many people in aircraft carriers, like, because obviously you're going out, you're like interacting, because your life is the Navy. Like, at one
Yeah.
point, you're going to the gym on base, you meet somebody and they're like stationed on a carrier. I have seen people that meet in the gym and they don't even know that they're on the same ship. Because it's 2,000
It's
people.
so big.
Yeah,
It's
like how do
very
you
big.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
With me, I used to know almost every single person on my ship. Because
Yeah.
there's just 300, 400 people. And whenever you're going underway or like something like that, you're seeing them every day. You
Right.
know?
Right.
So like it's so easier for you to know people on a small ship. But it's just something that, and then this one time, he said that so obviously whenever you're underway or like whenever you are on deployment, your leaving date is pretty much set that you're gonna leave, like
That day.
leave to go out on in the sea that day. But like the day, it's never determined on the day you're coming back. You can come back, like they'll say, oh, we're going back tomorrow, and it's not gonna be for a month. It just depends on like your schedule.
Right.
And then he told me that there was this one time that he did not carry something red that day. I think he like maybe he was rushing, but he did not carry something red, and they were supposed to be pulling back into port that day, and their underway just got extended for a week.
So they were on the ship for another
For another
week.
week, yeah. So ever since
Oh
then,
my
he was
God.
like, I have always made sure that no matter how late I'm getting, I carry red.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, one more thing. Do you have a naval flex? Do you like to flex? Do you like to correct people now that you know a little bit about Navy?
Honestly, I do it with my naval friends.
Okay.
Yeah, like
You do?
yeah,
You flex?
just with my friends, not like civilians, because they will not understand it.
Right.
But like we always had this, whenever we were in trouble, like whenever we did something that we were not supposed to do in the in the boot camp, and our RDCs were like almost getting mad at us, like they were ready to like beat us up. They would say stand by.
Right.
So like stand by is basically, that's when if I'm telling you stand by, that you did something that
Wrong.
you were not supposed to. So like whenever like my friends say something or do something, I'm like stand by. We're gonna come back to that later.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna say that to a civilian because they're not gonna
You're
understand.
not gonna understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can keep saying. Does it ever bug you, like when people, now that you know more about like Navy and ships and everything,
Yeah.
and when normal civilians
Yeah.
talk about ships in a way that they think they understand it,
Yeah.
but they don't.
They don't know.
Does it bug you?
Yeah. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. But keep talking. I'm not even gonna correct you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the long nights. Sometimes when we you meet people like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you are not from that area, but you have
Yeah.
seen maybe somewhere
I remember this
or
one time.
learned something from WhatsApp University.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. That's so popular. So popular. I
Yeah.
remember this one time, because whenever we're underways, we have watches. So we stand watch for like 12 hours every day. Every single person has to stand watch. So you basically, whenever you're standing watch, you're basically looking out in the sea.
For any threat or something.
Right. So every person has to do 12 hours. It's usually 5-7. Like, it's divided into like 5 hours.
You
and 7.
stand for 12 hours?
Yeah. And you cannot sit.
That is insane.
And on top of that, you still got to do your daily work of 6 hours. So that's 18 hours just spent working. And then for the rest 6 hours that you get, you have to eat, you have to shower, you have to work out if you want to, and then you have to like sleep. And then get back up, shower to go to watch again. Yeah. Like I'm telling you,
That is insane.
underways was one of the toughest times. Like whenever they would announce that we're going underway, I was dreading my like life in the Navy. And I remember this one time, one of my friends, they were like, I think she said, oh, like, it's almost like you're living on a cruise ship. I'm like, yeah, okay. I was like, we're not even
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was like, we're not even gonna go there.
And that is crazy because
Yeah.
like the stories like these, and then but it still has a success rate. I mean that you see that 52 people,
Yeah,
53
50.
people out of 80, they're still in your batch.
Yeah.
And the rest of the ones they're just behind,
They're
but
just
they will
behind.
catch up.
Yeah. I remember this one girl, so like I said, we usually graduate on week 8 is when our graduation is. And then she got pushed into my division. So she came from another division into my division on like our last week. Because I think the only thing that she had to do was her fitness test. I think that was one thing that she was lacking in. So she took the last fitness test with us, and then she graduated with us. So I had asked her, I was like, hey, like, how long have you been here? She said 8 months. She was
8 months.
graduating on her 8th month in the Navy, and then she hadn't went back home in 8 months.
Oh wow.
She was just in Chicago at Great Lakes for those 8 months,
That is insane.
and she was so ready to go home.
Yeah, I could imagine.
But they
like
weren't
when
letting her
you're
go. Like, she had to finish.
Finish. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good thing too, right? That you at least they keep them pushed, motivated, and
Yeah.
And one final last question,
Mhm.
right? Are you able, you being from a South Asian Indian nationality, are you easy to blend in? Do they like see you different? Do you feel any difference when you are standing against different race people in the Navy?
I would say so. Definitely when I was in my on my ship, it definitely happened to me where I wouldn't say I was like discriminated, but so on whenever you go to a ship, you're living in the ship, and they assign you tasks that you have to do before you can get an apartment. So Navy gives you an apartment, but you have to work hard for it. You have
Okay.
they give you like bunch of tasks that you have to do, which typically takes a normal person about 5 to 6 months to finish. And I finished mine in 2.5 to 3 months.
Wow.
But they wouldn't give me an apartment. They were like,
Even after finishing yours, they would just
yeah, they just didn't. They just kept adding on to it.
right.
But it was one other person. But obviously, like, irrelevant. But it's just he finished his in like 7 or 8 months, and he got an apartment immediately.
Right.
But I'm like, I finished
You finished yours on
early, so I was like, doesn't it make me more, like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say better, but like, doesn't it show you that I'm like serious about this?
Right.
Which is basically what they're trying to see. They're trying to see if you're responsible enough to be able to, because whenever you were in the ship, you're just getting up and showing up to work.
Right.
Like, you're coming, like, you're getting ready in your compartment, down in your compartment, and just showing up to your office. Like, you're like steps away from your work. When you're in an apartment, you have to make sure that you're driving yourself to your ship, walking onto the pier, and to make it to your office in time. So I guess they just want to make sure that you are responsible enough to be doing all that without getting yourself in trouble.
Right.
And there's tasks that they give you that you have to finish, which usually takes like 5 to 6 months.
Right.
And then I finished, because the only reason I finished mine was because I hated shipping, like sleeping in the ship. It was just so bad. Like, you had no service. So you're just sitting there and you're looking up the ceiling, and it's bunk beds on the little ship. It's like,
And it's very congested, right?
very
It's very
congested.
small
Yeah,
space.
you're barely getting any, like, any place to put your luggage in, everything.
Right.
So I just wanted to get out of there. And I had told myself, I was like, I'm going to finish the task as fast as I can just so I can get an apartment to myself. And I still, like, it
Yeah.
took me 6 months to get an apartment.
Wow.
Yeah, even after the fact that I did mine in 3 months.
Yeah. One thing I have learned is, the destiny finds its way around.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might take a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the path that you are on, I'm pretty sure in that moment you might feel that, but now when you look back, you are like, it was worth it because I at least got it what I wanted
Yeah, definitely.
at some point, right?
Yeah.
Instead of but yeah, thanks again for
Of
doing
course.
this.
Yes.
I told myself that yours was going to be probably the hardest one for me to conduct, is because I had to first just leave my that mindset where I was very proud of you and I was very happy that you were
Yeah.
going to come today,
Yeah.
because I wanted to genuinely ask you questions as a normal person would ask somebody who has been in your place, right?
Right.
So I had to first flush all of that out.
Right.
I kept telling Shivani, I was like, out of I think what 8 or 9 I have planned,
Yeah.
I think this is one going to be the most challenging one and the most fun one for me.
Yeah.
But I think it went pretty well.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how do I go about introducing you and all of that,
Yeah.
and I kept it out because that's also another thing I learned,
Yeah.
was that I'm going to record the intro outside of this,
Right, later.
because when I did the first time with the first episode, my intros went for about 10 minutes. Because I
that makes
kept
sense.
asking even about things, and then so it's a growth.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
learn.
it's a learning experience even for you. Like you said, it's pilot,
And you
pilot
have no
episode.
idea how much I was talking over Nirali Pen,
Aw.
because I was so excited,
To just like
to have her.
Yeah.
And I think it took me about half of the interview recording to start realizing that, okay,
I need to
I'm
let her
only here to
talk.
listen.
Yeah.
I'm not here to talk.
Right.
And that's when I switched gears. And then the second half was pretty good.
Okay, that's perfect.
I mean, we
yeah.
got good content out of it. But and again, thanks so much for doing
Of
this.
course.
It's really, really my honor. And, I'm very happy and privileged that, I was able to get you here because that's also in the making.
Yes.
We were trying to get the
For sure.
dates and everything lined up.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again for doing
Of
this.
course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And for the audience, please like, share, and subscribe. Spread this to as many people as possible. If you are listening on YouTube, if it's on audio platform, please like. Let the algorithm show that you are enjoying this content so it pushes it up. And we'll see you in the next episode. We're signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.